Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about my old bandsaw. At first you might think, bandsaw, how boring, but actually I think you're going to find this interesting. We're going to talk about over the 30 years I've owned this thing, what sort of maintenance I've had to do, what sort of repairs were needed, and overall how it's treated me and what I think the bang per buck is on this guy. First, let's talk a little bit about the style of bandsaw. So this is a combination bandsaw. Right now it's in its horizontal mode, and if I just lift this up and screw this plate onto here, becomes a vertical bandsaw. So pretty handy, pretty versatile. So let's put this table on here and demonstrate using this in the vertical configuration. So now this can be used to freehand. You know, you could draw a layout line on whatever it is you want to cut. You could do a little bit of contours with it. The blade's pretty wide this way, so you can't get too carried away with contours, but I think you get the idea. The one thing it's important to be careful about is that you don't push too hard, because you can see this whole machine is almost perfectly balanced now with the motor and everything hanging way off that end. This thing could easily tip over. So a lot of times I'll just sit right on here while I'm working on it, and that way I don't flip the whole thing over backwards on the floor. So I'm going to take this apart a little bit because I want to show you some of the repairs that were required, and we need to dig down to where they are. And yeah. It's a pretty simple machine, and for basic maintenance comes apart quite easily. So the first thing I've done is taken off the vice jaws, and that's because these things are getting adjusted all the time, adjusted to different angles for different projects, adjusted to different positions for different size workpieces, and as a result, the threaded holes in the cast iron, they take a real beating, and this hole in particular stripped out on me. And I've got a pretty simple repair for these. What I do is I just take, this was a 1/2 inch thread, and so I tapped that hole out to 3/4 inch diameter, took a 3/4 inch bolt, drilled and tapped it out to the 1/2 inch diameter, and that works incredibly well. So when I glue that in there with thread locker, there's much more length of engagement, and so this repair job is going to last an awful lot longer than the original, where it was only threaded through about this much cast iron. I've also done that repair here. Now in this instance, there was 3/8 inch bolts in here, and so I drilled out and tapped 1/2 inch holes, and I took a 1/2 inch bolt and same idea, drilled it out and tapped it to 3/8. Now that doesn't work quite as well as it does with a 3/4 to 1/2 inch, and the reason being that the root of the external thread and the root of the internal thread, they have a decent separation when you're going from 3/4 to 1/2 inch, but when you're going from 1/2 inch to 3/8, they very nearly touch each other. So you have to be super careful as you're working on this that the whole thing doesn't just unspool like a big helicoil spring on you. But if you're super careful and you get it done successfully, once you've got them glued in place, they're a very quality long-term repair solution. The bolts that originally held the movable jaw onto this block that is threaded to the vice clamping screw had little wee heads on them, and they were always rounding off on me. And this is quite often under the arm of the saw, and so it's difficult to get at, and so it's challenging to get a good bite with your wrench. And so what I did was I took some high-grade threaded rod, welded on some heavy hex nuts, and so now I've got something beefy to more easily get my wrench onto. Originally, this nut was a quick release nut where when you turn forward to clamp, it would engage, and then when you crank it backwards, it would completely disengage, allowing you to slide the vise. Well, that wasn't very durable. It didn't last very long. It wore out quite quickly. It was also very prone to getting full of debris and only half engaging, which I'm sure led to its early demise. So what I've done is just threaded an aluminum bronze nut and put that in place of where that mechanism used to be. And so there's a lot more cranking involved, but this is going to be a longer term solution. One upgrade I learned pretty quickly that this thing could really use is some vice jaw extensions, and I'll show you the purpose of these and when you would use them and how they work. When cutting shorter stuff, you get a pretty poor grip on it, and this movable jaw is going to want to cock on you, and so basically you're going to be just hanging on to your workpiece by a thin line. And as your workpiece gets smaller and smaller, it becomes less and less effective, and a crash can really damage a blade pretty quickly. So what I do is I put my extensions in here. That basically puts the clamping force way out right beside the blade. Now the movable vice jaw will still cock, and so the solution for that is take another piece of material the same size as the one you're cutting, put that at the back end. This will hold the vice jaws nice and square, and now you're getting a solid grip on this thing. And we could exaggerate this even further, and we could say, if I wanted to cut this in half, well, it's just not going to happen. We're not clamping it at all. We're way far away from the blade, and so these extensions make that sort of small work possible. Well, let's use these vise extensions here to cut this little piece of material in half. So with the extensions in here, you can see we're grabbing lots of this part. Now, this hand wheel tightens the vise. Power switch is over on this side. This is a hydraulic feed control. As I rotate this counterclockwise, the feed rate speeds up. Counterclockwise slows the feed rate down. So I get it running pretty slow, but I don't want it just rubbing. I do want it cutting, so I'll set that accordingly. These blade guides are adjustable, and they can both be moved to get the maximum size workpiece possible in here. Now when you do that, the blade becomes kind of floppy and unsupported out here, so general rule of thumb is keep these things in as tight as you can without them interfering by hitting something else. And then the blade's quite a bit stiffer. I'm going to show you a more recent repair now. After 3 decades of turning and turning and turning, this lip at the back of the drive wheel had eventually worn down to just about nothing and was at risk of coming off altogether. So I just put that new wheel on recently. This is the old wheel, and you can see I'm down to next to nothing for a lip there. All this is worn away. Although I ordered this replacement wheel using the serial number on the machine, the wheel came in slightly different than the original, but we were able to make it fit, and just had to play with spacing it appropriately on the shaft. Let's take a look at switching blades. It's reasonably straightforward. There's this cover on here. It certainly would help keep fingers out of wheels and so on. And as far as chips go, I'm not sure if it's more effective at keeping chips out of the inside or at holding them in. That's debatable. But step one is to loosen that guy off. And then this is the blade tension adjuster up here. Just going to back that off a good amount. Whoa. Yeah, and just pop that right out of there. Now for putting it back on, it's a little more challenging for those of us that only have two hands. So what I quite often do is I get a foot involved. And I'm not going to tighten it up right now because I know it's not on there nice and straight. So what I'm going to do is get just a bare minimum amount of tension, and then I'm going to jog it on. What that'll do is it'll cause it to self-align, and then I can finish tightening it until I'm happy with the tension that I've got. After that, it's just a matter of putting my screws back in. Believe it or not, all these bearings are original. Now they're shielded, they're not sealed, and every so often I have to take them off, flush them out really well, re-lubricate them and reinstall them. But these things have been happily doing their job for 3 decades now, which I think is pretty amazing, because when this machine's running, those little wee bearings are just whizzing along the whole time. This machine originally came with a coolant pump and a small reservoir on it, and it worked decently well, but I found it made a huge mess, and I'm only generally cutting steel with it, and I didn't find it was giving me enough extended blade life to warrant the mess I was always cleaning up. And so long ago I ditched the coolant setup, and I have been running it on its slowest speed ever since then, and I find that that's the best balance of getting stuff done and getting a long life out of the blade. Now imagine if you were cutting a lot of stainless, that could be a very different story, and it's entirely possible that you would want that coolant on there all the time. But again, I'm rarely cutting stainless, and I seem to get excellent blade life, so I think that's the best way to go, and I don't have a big mess around this machine all the time. At some point in this thing's life, the undercarriage started to kind of split and separate, and it was really starting to fall apart. And so I got rid of the original wheels. I built this angle iron frame that I could set the whole thing in, and added wheels to that. And I'm quite happy with how that's been working for me. It prevented it from splaying out anymore. And it's stayed nice and tight ever since I did that. This is actually a tool that lives with this machine. And what I do with this is if I have a super awkward piece that is simply not going to work or hold well in the vise, then I will position my part where I want it for the cut. And then I'll come in under here with this piece of angle iron. And now I can clamp this thing down with a C-clamp or two, and it holds it securely. I can make my cut, and I can cut all kinds of oddly shaped things without it coming loose and spinning in there. The motor on this is a 3/4 horsepower, 110 volt, and there's a belt drive between the motor and the gearbox. This is adjustable. We have 4 different speeds we can choose from. And again, I found that with the slower speed, I get increased blade life, and I don't really notice that there's a much longer cutting time. And this little chart here shows us how many surface feet per minute we're going to get depending on what we choose. This machine's made by King, and it's a model 11.7 combination horizontal vertical bandsaw. So we've talked about the horizontal vertical part of it already. The 11.7 means we can cut up to 11 inches long and 7 inches high. That's the capacity that'll fit under this arm and between the vice jaws. Everyone's always curious about price. Well, back in 1994 or 95, I paid $1,100 for this unit, and today a brand new one of these is going for just under $1,900. So you can see a bit of inflation has taken place there. I don't know if the quality nowadays is better or worse than it was back when. I just don't have any information on that. But generally speaking, I'm super happy with this. The maintenance has been very low, in my opinion, for the miles of steel this thing has cut through. Bandsaws actually aren't all that boring. Arguably, this is the fastest metal removing machine in anybody's shop. And with the least amount of chips, you can remove the most amount of metal reasonably quickly. and no lathe or milling machine is going to even compare. Of course, they're all for different jobs, but as far as just getting rid of big chunks of metal, this thing's the boss. Next thing I want to do is give you guys an idea of how long it actually takes to make a cut. So this is some 3-inch diameter 1045 material. I'm going to just take a minimum skim little slab off the end of it, and we're going to time it, and we'll see how long it takes. Now this blade is not brand new fresh, but it's also decent. So this is a good sort of middle of the road average kind of idea. We're approaching the 1 minute mark there now. There's 1 minute. It's off to a good start. Point of interest, we're coming up on 10 minutes here, and this is a little warm, but I could easily hold my hand here all day. There's very little heat actually being generated. Very satisfying, I feel, and this is not hot. I can hold this no problem. I can even squeeze it hard. It's really not that hot at all. And our total elapsed time was 13 minutes and 39 seconds, we'll call it. In summary, I'm going to say I'm super happy with this investment that I've made. I feel it is an investment. I feel the amount of time and money I've spent on maintenance was a small price to pay for decades of service, and pretty much a necessity if you're into metal work. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. Huge thank you to our Patreon members. We'll see you in the next one.